Hi, I'm Joe,
I'm Danielle.
and today in this episode we're going to talk about buying your first gun. And we're talking about this because Danielle, you recently bought your first gun, right?
I did. I just finished up my CCW course, went in, and I didn't want to wait the 60 to 90 days, so I went in and got a pistol permit.
Right. So right now in our state, the concealed carry permits are taken about 60 to 90 days after you get your fingerprinting and your background check and all that done. And I think that's smart because now you have an opportunity to practice with your gun and actually use it before you have the license, and no sense in waiting that long. So in this episode, we're really going to discuss basically your experience of going into the gun shop, buying your first gun, talk about what questions they asked you, and then we'll talk about the gun you actually chose.
Okay.
So why don't we start by having you just talk about what happened when you went into the store. Obviously, they greeted you, you went up to the counter. What's the first question they really asked you from there?
What was the purpose of me getting a gun?
Cool. And so you told them...
I just got my CCW, or just finished the class, and I wanted to have something that I could carry concealed.
Great. And so you come in, they ask you what's the purpose of the gun, you tell them you plan on carrying concealed. What was the next question? Or how did that go?
The next question he had asked me was, how do I plan on carrying? And I plan on carrying in a purse most of the time.
Okay. So by asking you, number one, how you're going to use the gun, he established what the tool needs to do for you. And then by asking how you're going to carry, he got an idea of maybe size and just type of gun that you're going to need to be able to carry properly, correct?
Right, and he wanted to see, did I have any experience with prior handguns, to see if there was one that I preferred more than the other. And yeah, that was the beginning.
Okay. And so what is your experience level, just so people know? I mean, obviously I know, but what would you consider your experience level? How often have you shot? Things like that.
For handguns, I would say low, lower, just because I've shot different calibers, but I wouldn't say I'm comfortable.
Sure. So we've shot together for a long time, and Danielle's shot, a 40 caliber, full-size pistols, revolvers. I mean, you've shot a lot of different calibers and a lot of different guns, but you haven't shot often. So it's, maybe every couple of months you'd go out, you'd shoot a couple magazines or so full, and that was it.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So what happened next? So he established what you were using the gun for, how you were going to carry, your skill level. Basically from there, he just wanted to know if you had an interest or anything caught your eye, right?
Right. He had asked me about going with a full-size versus a subcompact, and I definitely wanted something a little bit smaller, ideally a little bit lighter weight, just so I wasn't carrying, something so heavy, especially if I'm going out all day. I don't want my shoulder to get sore just from carrying a pistol.
Sure. So what was the first gun you asked him to pull out for you to take a look at?
I wanted to look at the Colt Mustang. I really liked the look of it. It was a really, really attractive looking gun,
Yeah.
and I wanted to, use a slide. I wanted to try it out a little bit, and everything on it looked really nice. So
Yeah.
that was the first one.
So he pulls out the Colt Mustang. You took a look at that. And then, if I remember correctly, he kind of started educating you a little bit on the differences of function and how the different guns operate. So I think he also pulled out a SIG and maybe a Smith & Wesson. And then I know he pulled out the Glock. I don't remember if he pulled out a Springfield. But at one point or another, you had maybe 6 guns on the counter, and he was kind of going over the different operation of each gun. Now, you weren't looking at revolvers, and that was mainly because you've shot revolvers before. You didn't really like that for concealed carry. It's just a personal preference. But you find typically with a revolver that the trigger pull is a lot harder and the travel for the trigger is a lot longer. Or you have to get a single action revolver, which means you got to draw it, cock it, and we didn't want to mess around with that fine motor skills under stress. So we kind of eliminated revolvers right off of the bat, which again is just a personal preference. A lot of people carry revolvers and are happy with them, but we went the other way. So realistically, the Colt, the SIG, several other models all operate the same, and the big difference between the two, or what, you know, had you go really from the Colt, which I know you really liked the look of, and you could rack the slide easily, and so you liked a lot of things about it, but what swayed you to go towards the Glock specifically?
I liked that the Glock didn't necessarily have a safety that I would have to turn on and off. I liked that the safety was right in the trigger, so if I needed it, I could just pull it out and go bang.
Yeah.
It made it a little bit easier, instead of trying to, you know, remember in that situation, you know, hopefully it never happens, but if you're caught in that situation, I don't want to be fidgeting with my gun trying to figure out how to make it operate.
Right. And I remember one of the things that, you know, I mentioned while we were at the store that day was that I've been to the range and seen people who are just practicing with no timers, they're not trying to speed shoot or anything like that, draw their gun, point it, aim, pull the trigger, nothing happens, pull the trigger again, nothing happens. Next thing you know, they're looking at the gun, oh yeah, I forgot to turn the safety off. Now that's in an environment with no stress, no nothing, right? I mean, you should easily remember that, but it's common that you don't. So to use a gun, and the Colt Mustang has a manual safety that you have to operate, right? So to rely on yourself to actually draw your gun under stress, potentially under attack where you're fighting off an attacker physically or running and moving to try to get away from an attacker, and then remember to kick the safety off before you pull the trigger, it's potentially a lot to remember.
It is, and I didn't want to be in that situation where, you know, if something were to happen, I wasn't able to use my pistol the way that is meaning to be carried.
Yeah. So the Glock does not have a mechanical safety. Well, it does. I mean, the safety is here in the trigger. So we'll just open this up. And so, you know, that little safety is all it is. Now, that's got some downsides too, right? I mean, it's some people consider a Glock to be less safe or even unsafe in circumstances because it's locked and ready to go all the time. You just pull the trigger and it's going to go bang as long as there's a round in it, right?
Right, and one of the things that really persuaded me on getting it sooner is so I could get a lot of practice with it before my CCW comes in the mail. I want to make sure that I feel comfortable using it, and also having it in the purse, that's just an added safety when you're doing a concealed carry purse because it's in its own pocket. So I don't feel like if I'm just, you know, reaching in there, I'm not going to accidentally grab it.
Right. And so that's a good thing that you mentioned, that you'll specifically be carrying in a concealed carry purse versus just a standard purse. And I think we're going to do another video on that shortly to compare the two. But the biggest thing being that concealed carry purse has its own compartment and a holster built in so that the trigger guard is covered and it's separate from all the other items in your purse. So you're not going to accidentally bump it, or it's not going to get hit with a pen that gets jammed into the trigger guard or anything like that, which with a Glock could be a serious problem. Again, once it's loaded, anything that hits that trigger is going to make it go off. So, you know, you definitely have to understand what you've got and how your gun operates, but it sounds like you've got that. And I think, again, the decision to get more training now and practice so that once you are licensed and ready to carry, you're comfortable with the gun, the way it operates, you're comfortable with drawing it from however you're going to carry, probably both holsters and the purse depending on the situation. And yeah, I think that's really smart. So do you have anything else about why you chose this gun specifically? I know you talked about the way it fit a little bit in your hand and that sort of thing.
I have a little bit larger hands, so I wanted to get something that fit in my hand well. The Colt was, again, a nice gun, but the actual hand portion, it was a little bit smaller, where the Glock, it's a little bit more bulky, so it fit well. It also has like the sandpaper style on it, so it allows me to hold it a little bit easier. I really liked the style of it, just the look. It's a little bit more of an aggressive style, and I like the look of that style for a pistol. I liked how the slide worked. It was a little bit easier with some of the handguns that I was using. You really had to rack it back.
Sure.
And being a woman, I don't have a lot of upper body strength, so I want to make it as easy as possible to just, to use if I'm in that situation.
Sure. So I think that's a great point, is that, you can go online, you can watch all the gun reviews you want, you can listen to all the experts tell you that this gun's the best, or that gun's the best, or this style, or this manufacturer or brand. But in reality, until you get out there and you put it in your hand and you run it through the operation, which I highly recommend. If you're going to go to the store and you're going to look at guns, don't be shy to ask them to get it out of the counter. I know that's one thing that we talked about before, because it's common to go into the store and be a little reserved and not know what is okay and how to handle the gun. But the salesmen there are used to that, and they should be making you comfortable and letting you handle. And this store was really good. I mean, they were happy to let you handle the gun, rack it, they let you pull the trigger. I suggest doing that to any gun you're going to buy. I mean, make sure you can rack the slide well, make sure it fits comfortably in your hand. Get it out, aim it, pull the trigger a few times, dry fire it in the store. Make sure that the trigger feels good, that the grip feels good, that you can rack the slide. I've seen people buy a gun and then really can't operate it, and I hate to admit, but I've bought guns where I bought it, I was excited, I got it home, I pulled the trigger once, and I hated it. And, I sold it and lost $100, $200 just to get rid of it because I didn't like it. I didn't like the trigger pull or the way it operated. So I think it's really important to run it through its paces in the store. Don't be afraid to walk away and come back another day and check it out. Don't be afraid to look around and see if maybe you can even rent a few guns. This place had rentals, but nothing in the subcompact sizes. So they really didn't have anything for you to rent and try out. But you've had the opportunity to shoot some guns before, and you've shot a Glock before, so you knew that the trigger was going to be good for you and everything like that, right?
Yep.
Cool. You got anything else to add?
No, just when you're in the store, I found it helped me personally to just ask them, is it okay that I rack it? Is it okay that I do a dry fire? Just where, they may want you to do that in a specific position, aim it at this specific wall, and they did make me feel really comfortable. I've been to other places where, sometimes you just don't get that same comfort level. This place was great. He even showed me, the pros and cons on it, and overall it was a really good first experience.
Awesome. Well, I'm excited to get it out there and see you shoot it, and we've actually got something scheduled here pretty soon. We're going to be going to an NRA basic pistol course, which was another thing that we scheduled after the concealed carry course, just to help you get more comfortable with your gun, get some more range time, and actually get some practice. We arranged with the instructor to give us another couple extra hours to work with you specifically on drawing from your purse and shooting. So that should be really fun. We got that coming up in a few weeks.
I'm excited for that.
All right. Well, thanks for watching another episode, and we'll see you soon.
See you.